Hey guys, welcome to Latin Excellence in Iowa. We're gonna do the first highlight. Gabriela Rivera. Gabriela was my mentor at the University of Iowa when I was studying linguistics, and she still is a mentor of mine. We still stay in contact, and we love seeing each other every time I go visit in Iowa City. Um, and today I wanted to highlight her journey as a first generation Iowan and a first generation student as well. I have one question to start off with. Maybe
Mhm.
give us some background on where were you born? How long have you been in Iowa?
Thank you so much, Victor, for thinking of me and inviting me to be part of your project. I'm very excited to share my own story with your students and this space and this virtual space, right, where we're learning so much about each other. So I hope that my story is something that maybe you'll relate to one aspect of why I'm here in Iowa and just spark some interest. I know I've been telling some of my students that I work with at the University of Iowa that if they can be patient to hear what I have to say and maybe over Zoom, it's even more difficult, right? But that you already accomplished something. So yeah, I been in Iowa since 1987. So I actually came here my last year of high school and came from Mexico City. So I'm originally from Mexico City. I'm an only child. My mother and I came to Davenport, Iowa. So that's really the eastern part of the state, very close to the border with the state of Illinois. Why we came to Davenport, Iowa was because, family, many of us,
Mm-hmm.
Latinos, Latinas, come to a place that where we already have family and we have community, someone that say I will help you and open their home doors to us, right? So that was the case for us. My mom's sister was willing to help us with that transition, and at that time I was finishing up my last year of high school, so I quickly enrolled at Davenport West High School and
Mm-hmm.
finished my studies in 1 year. And
Wow.
just yeah, so despite the language barriers, because even though in Mexico, English is really second language for a lot of people. Victor has been
Mm-hmm.
a teacher in Mexico, knows the importance
Mm-hmm.
of learning other languages. I always like learning other languages, so English was one of them. So I had a limited proficiency, but once I got here, I was completely immersed in the language and the culture. It was definitely a big challenge, but I did manage to graduate in 1 year or less than a year.
Mm-hmm.
My high school preparation was actually really good. From Mexico coming into Iowa, I was pretty advanced because those courses are required in high school. I had already completed, so I
Mm-hmm.
was actually able to take other electives, such as French, for example. I was learning French in Mexico, and then when I came here, they're like, "Well, you want to learn more French?" I'm like, "Sure," which I thought it was very probably not a good idea because my French teacher in Iowa thought I had a Spanish accent, so it was really difficult to
Mm-hmm.
learn English, French at the same time. But I could do that. So yeah, I was actually excited. A little sad too at that time. I remember because in high school, especially your last year of high school, your friends are a very important part of your life, and I had left a lot of my friends back in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I wasn't sure what the future would bring. Um, and I know at that point, my mom needed to make that move to the U.S. for financial reasons and personal reasons. So I had to be supportive of her decision, and just go along with coming here and not be like, I don't want to do that. So and yeah, I can tell you later on why I feel like that's been one of the hardest decisions, but probably the one of the best decisions for my mom and I over the years. And I'm just very happy that that happened at that time.
Yeah, and I mean, making a transition at 18, 17 is something that isn't easy for anybody, right? Whether it's to another, to the local community college, or to the other side of the state, or to another university that's in Canada, let's say, right? Going away from home is going to be the biggest transition. And when you add culture shock to that, it's a wave, right? You can never really adapt to it until only time will tell. So
Right.
you went to a community college first for 2 years, and then you transferred to
Yes.
the University of Iowa, right?
No, no, for at my undergrad. So here's my path. So and yes, I went to a community college first, and I love my community college experience. I always tell anyone that I talk with about my journey, my personal experience, getting to where I am today, right, as a professional. I would never change anything of how it happened, because from high school I went to Scott Community College in Bettendorf, Iowa.
Yep.
And that first semester, I know it was again more ESL courses, English as a second language, because my English speaking and writing was not proficient to the college level. Yeah, my dream was to go to the University of Iowa as an undergrad, because at that time I actually had 3 or 4 cousins that were students at the University of Iowa, and that would have been my first choice at that time. But I'm glad it was not, because I was not ready with my English. You know, I was not ready to be in a big public university like that. So the community college was just perfect, small, you know, small classrooms, lots of services that were helped me become proficient, you know, in ESL, but also like math and reading and writing, you know, because you have all those services at the community college in a really small setting. You know, people are, you know, you pretty much go down the hallway and you meet everyone, right? So I did that for 3 years actually. So then I got my Associate of Arts degree at Scott. And then my group of friends at that time was a very international group of friends. Scott had a program with Georgetown University, where they bring international students from the Caribbean and
Wow.
Mexico and South America.
That's
Yeah,
really cool.
so I know, I love that. So then, you know, at that time, the international student advisor that oversaw that program became my advisor too. And through that group of friends, I met a friend who is from Iowa, who actually happens to be a really good Spanish teacher in high school in Oregon now. And
Oh,
so
wow.
that guy really helped me with meeting people, you know, and learning English, and he's, you know, just sort of being a coach, a friend and a coach, right? Well, he was 2 years older than me, and when he was studying in Davenport, he started at St. Ambrose University, but then transferred to Centro College in Pella, Iowa. So Robert said, you know, when I was my last year at the community college and I was looking like, what's my next thing? He said, well, why don't you apply to Centro? Because, you know, Centro actually, for those of you who are looking for a small college with a lot of international opportunities, Centro is a good option. And they teach a lot of world languages, Spanish,
Wow.
French, probably Japanese, I don't know, Chinese. And
Central
so
College?
Central College is in Pella, Iowa. So Pella is the Dutch town.
Yeah.
If you haven't, if you have heard of Tulip Time in May, that's the place to be.
We have a place over here in Northwest Iowa called Orange City. They have a
Exactly.
Tulip Festival as well. Yeah, and they're very Dutch.
Right. And so Centro, so Robert said, applied to Centro, you know, and he was a student at Centro at that time. And he was learning Spanish, so he knew the Spanish faculty and TAs really well. So, you know, he put a good word for me with the the teachers, the professors there, I apply and then I get accepted, and then say you can
Oh,
be one of the TAs in the Spanish department.
wow.
And Centro has language houses, so they actually have a Spanish house, a German house, and a French house. Maybe they have more now. But so then when I became a TA and I was offered the opportunity to study there and work as well, I also got to live in the Spanish house. So I was the Mexican TA, and then there were 3 other women who were from Spain. So the 4 of us were the TAs, but also live in the house with the women who were studying Spanish. And so we would speak Spanish all day long, right? And so most
Mm-hmm.
of the women who lived at the Spanish house at that time, they're still my friends, and they're either Spanish teachers or they have some kind of international job where they use their Spanish all the time, and they're completely Iowan or from somewhere else. Actually, one of them is from Japan, and she's back in Japan, and she's completely fluent in Japanese and Spanish
Mm-hmm.
and English. I
Mm-hmm.
guess she's Japanese, of course, but completely fluent. So yeah, Centro was my undergrad. So I graduated from Centro in 2 years. I got my bachelor's degree actually in interdisciplinary studies. I make my own
Mm-hmm.
major. You can make
Mm-hmm.
your own major at Centro.
Yeah.
And I put 3 majors together. So I wanted to take classes from psychology, sociology, and
Mm-hmm.
anthropology. I knew I wanted to be some kind of educational advisor like you, Victor, like
Mm-hmm.
helping students go to college, graduate. Um, and so there's no major like that right now, at least not in one of the universities in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
The master's program, it's for that. And that,
Mm-hmm.
so then work at a law firm, actually, the
Wow.
William B. Briscoe law firm in Bettendorf, Iowa. And I got some paralegal experience working with mostly worker compensation clients, lots of Latinos in the community that were getting injured,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
big food processing plants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the same story like from 20 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's even more sad, right?
Yeah.
But so work with Bill Ribisco for 2 years, and then came to the University of Iowa to do my master's in higher education and student affairs. So
Wow.
that's when I actually made my dream possible, coming to Iowa for the
Yeah.
master's. So, and the master's in higher education and student affairs, it's specifically a student gets trained to do that job of working in a college setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an
Yeah.
advisor,
Yeah.
coach,
Yeah.
lots of different areas in student services. So yeah, so that's like 1996 when I come to Iowa City to do my master's degree, and take me 3 years again. Most of my experiences in my graduate assistantship were in international education.
Mm-hmm.
So I work in the Office of International Students and Scholars,
Mm-hmm.
helping international students with their immigration paperwork and doing a lot of programming with them, also with scholars. So scholars are people that maybe come for a year or two to teach at the
Mm-hmm.
University of Iowa.
That's so interesting. I think your experience, I think more than anything, what it tells is how your experience and your education really play a hand in hand.
Mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm,
really kind of like guide you to do what you want to do with your life. I think what is so great is that, from being an international student yourself, you work with international students and
mm-hmm,
guided them, and then you were able to be a TA, and you were able to work in a law firm, and then you were able to marry those experiences for your master's degree when you
mm-hmm,
worked in the international offices. And I think that's a really impactful story. And I think what's really great is that you were able to guide yourself
mm-hmm,
based on your needs. A lot of people tend to want to follow their friends,
mm-hmm,
significant others,
mm-hmm,
but they need to be
mm-hmm,
aware of like, is this college giving me what I need right now? What are my
mm-hmm,
strengths right now?
mm-hmm,
And how can I nourish those strengths
mm-hmm,
to reach the University of Iowa level. And turns out the University of
Mm-hmm.
Iowa was ready for you at the master's level. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think that's something that's
Yeah.
so powerful to hear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's all about patience and resilience.
Exactly. And that's right. You just need to like listen to yourself and say, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing right now, right? In this place.
Mm-hmm.
If we all learn to do self-reflection, like I think that's definitely very powerful. Then I think we would be happier with our choices, right? Because at
Mm-hmm.
times, we just feel like trap, and we're like, oh, I don't want to be here, we're unhappy about where we are. And I'm firm believer of connectedness, and that things happen for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's why I
Mm-hmm.
always
Me too.
think like, it was to be meant to me, for me to have this long journey to be where I am today. Because
Yeah.
my first professional job, can I tell you about my first professional job?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of
was
course.
was actually in the office of admissions as an admissions counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So Northwest Iowa was my first territory. So as an
Mm-hmm.
admissions counselor, you have to get in a car. Maybe not right now
Mm-hmm.
with COVID, but
Yeah.
um, that was a great introduction to learning about high school students, Latinx communities in the state of Iowa. And, this is 1999. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the road, across Iowa to be in Sioux City, to be in Orange City,
Uh-huh.
to be in all these other communities
Yeah.
that
Denison, Storm Lake. Yeah.
Denison, yes. And
Yeah.
if I went through the list of those places, I still remember people like Marcela, I'm blanking on her last name, from Denison, one of the first students I met, Marcela
Mm-hmm.
Paulina. And, Sioux City, like going to do like recruitment for the Native American students, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
Latinx students, or going to Waterloo to specifically work with Dr. Mickey Johnson in the talent, Upper Van and Talent Search program
Mm-hmm.
to recruit Black students, right? So that was one of the best experiences, is being an admissions counselor, because I got to see the whole state of Iowa. And then I also had the opportunity to travel to the Rio Valley in
Mm-hmm.
Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and also talk with a lot of students who probably mostly were Mexican, identified,
Mm-hmm.
or um, very close to the border, but students that wanted to leave Texas to go to a very different place and come to Iowa to be students here, right? So I had all these experiences. The best skill that you learn as an admissions counselor is public speaking
Mm-hmm.
and driving. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
love driving, and that was probably
Yeah.
because of what I had to do at that time, right?
Yeah.
I feel very comfortable being by myself in public spaces, in a hotel or a restaurant,
Yeah.
eating by myself
And
because I
upward
had to
bound, I
do that.
travel too. Yeah, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
you
And those
learn.
things go a long way, right? It's when you
Mm-hmm.
want to get those jobs, right? Like, yes, I can do this, right? So yeah, admissions was my first job, and I really wanted to work for the University of Iowa because in 1999, I got my master's, I got married, and then my partner and I bought our first condominium, or that we
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to pay rent for. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like we had to stay in Iowa City because the commitment was super high, right?
Mm-hmm.
So staying here was important, and so 1996 grad school, and then 1999 my first job, and I have not left Iowa City, and this is
Well, that's great.
2020. It's like,
And I
whoa.
was very grateful for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm grateful for
Yeah,
all those experiences.
I think it's very important too. I think your experience, because not only does it show, also you network, right, with other
Mhm,
people in your community to get that TA position, right? And you
mhm,
networked yourself across Northwest Iowa to learn certain skills. And I think what's really cool too is that what you show or exemplify, if anything, is that you know, Iowa isn't a place you get stuck. It's a place where you can really grow. It is
Yes.
fertile soil
Yes.
for Latinx individuals, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a really cool thing that we need to take advantage of and almost
Mm-hmm.
reclaim for ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
if one question to kind of end our conversation today, um, what do you love about Iowa, and what does being a Latino in Iowa mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just actually, I love the quote that you just said, right? The analogy of those of us who are Mexican and come from a country where corn people are very important, right? And family, right? And also giving, right? Giving back.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mexicans, for the most part, are people that want to give. You know, we're very giving, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're very grateful too. You know, we always say thank you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's one of the nicest traits to have is to be grateful and to be polite, right? With others, because I think that goes a long way. But also say what you want, right? Like that's something
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I learned too the
Yeah.
hard way, right? Like, you know, like sometimes when you get invited to a party and everybody's grabbing the food and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'll just wait, you know, I'll let the other ones go first. I'll just wait, right? But then there's no more food and then you're like, oh, I
Exactly.
shouldn't have waited, right? So
Yeah.
I think that, you know, being polite and being grateful is good, but also saying what you want in a polite way is important because then, you know, you want to make sure you're heard, otherwise those opportunities can be gone, right? And that's just for everything, not just personally but professionally, right? You need to let other
Mm-hmm.
people know what your goals are and how you can contribute to their organization.
Yeah, you need to
But
advocate for yourself.
exactly, advocate for yourself because we have so many talents, right? As
Mm-hmm.
people, you know, as
Mm-hmm.
Latinx, and Latinx is it's so many different people from so
Mm-hmm.
many different places, right? But I think for me, being in Iowa, and you know, the coming from Mexico and being grateful for the experience and staying here, yeah, I think that I'm just always very, very thankful that I got to do all these different things that I've been able to do personally and professionally, and see students like you know,
Mm-hmm.
graduate and move on and be in jobs that are very rewarding, very aligned with your values too, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
how we want to contribute to the state of Iowa, right? Because I, you know, over the years, like I say, you know, going on the road in 1999, I would always like to see where the Mexican restaurant was, or you know,
Mm-hmm.
like where some of the Latinas were in that community. And now we're more like, right, like now it's easier to find those places and
Mm-hmm.
people everywhere. But I think is part of it is because, you know, we're people that want to contribute and are here to make a difference, right? We're just
Mm-hmm.
not taking, but we're also giving back.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I'm just thankful for all those opportunities, you know, the people that have been part of my journey, and the doors that have opened up for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now that I'm getting older, you know, I'm always encouraged my students to say, well, you know, you should also do the same, open more doors for other
Mm-hmm.
people, so you know we can uplift more and do better.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, gratitude is a big thing that will go a long way, and especially patience. And community. I mean, that's what we have. Comunidad, right? We follow each
Mm-hmm.
other to these communities, and
Mm-hmm.
we thrive. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's, and if you can take anything away, is that that's what Gabriela has created. A
Mm-hmm.
great
Thank you.
community at the University of
Thank you.
Iowa, and she nourishes it every single day.
Yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
for meeting with me today, Gabriela. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy woman, and I'll let you get back to work.
Of
Thank you
course.
so much
And
for meeting with me.
yeah, and you know, just I know, you know, I work in the Tippie College of Business. I'm one of the advisors there. My title just recently changed.
Yeah.
Now an associate director for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So one of the things that I really like to promote with our college is the opportunity for any of your students to join our TP Gateway Summer Program, which is a 1-week residential opportunity for students to learn business. But not, just how to open up a business, but, how
Mm-hmm.
to develop yourself as a leader in the community.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, that can be one of the things. We don't require you to study business by participating in that program, but, just when it comes to those opportunities, let me know if I can help any of your students, or, students look up for those opportunities, especially if they're free. Because there'll be a great way for you to decide if the University of Iowa may be a good place for you, or maybe other college, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
giving a college an opportunity for you to learn how to, decide what those skills are for you for the future.
Exactly. No,
Yeah,
and Gabriela would be an incredible resource.
thank you. So yeah, keep me in mind and let's stay in touch. Yes, and
I'll put her email.
let's celebrate our Latinx excellence in Iowa, because I feel like there's a lot more stories now, people that are having a huge impact, and all of you are in the pipeline. So I just hope to get to live to see a lot of you be in the room with Victor. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you
thank
so
you,
much,
Victor.
Gabriela.
Yeah.